All right, let's set the scene. You're in the studio, the energy is electric, and you and your collaborator just made something amazing. The feeling is incredible, right? But right there, in that moment of creative magic, there's one simple, super common mistake that can completely unravel everything.
And no, that's not being dramatic. I'm talking about the very thing that consistently torpedoes creative relationships and can bring a career to a grinding halt. It's like a silent killer for any collaboration.
So what is it? What's this one little oversight that can have such massive, devastating consequences?
It's this. It's the simple and what seems like a totally harmless decision to just figure it out later. Agreeing to handle the business stuff, like who owns what percentage of the song after all the creative work is done. But the problem is, by then it's almost always too late.
See, the real issue isn't the collaboration itself. The problem is a fundamental misunderstanding of what you've actually created. Because every song you make isn't just one thing. It's actually two completely separate things that can be owned.
And this, right here, is the key concept that trips up so many artists. Every single song generates two distinct, legally separate copyrights. And getting the difference between them is the absolute key to protecting yourself and your music.
Okay, let's break this down with a simple analogy. Think of the composition as the song's blueprint. It's the melody, the chords, the lyrics. It's the soul of the song. Then you have the master recording. That's the finished building. It's the specific audio file of one particular performance of that song. And here's the kicker. The blueprint and the building can have completely different owners.
So, let's tackle that blueprint first. How do we decide who actually owns the composition, the song itself?
Well, this is what we call the composition split, or you'll also hear it called the publishing split. It's all about who contributed to the fundamental DNA of the song, the musical and lyrical ideas that make it what it is.
So typically the people who get a piece of the composition are the ones who actually built that blueprint. The person who wrote the lyrics, the one who came up with the melody, the one who made the beat or arranged the music. It's about the creative act, not just who performed it.
And here's a really important point. The percentages aren't always a direct reflection of the workload. It's all about what you agree to. In the spirit of collaboration, it's super common for two writers to just split things 50-50, even if one person wrote a little more. The only thing that matters is that you come to an agreement together.
Okay, on to the second copyright. We've covered the blueprint. Now let's talk about the finished building, the actual audio file.
The master split is a different beast entirely. Ownership here is less about who wrote the melody and a lot more about who physically made the recording happen. It's often tied to who paid for the studio time or who actually produced and engineered the track.
For instance, a classic example, a producer makes a beat in their studio. A rapper comes in, writes amazing lyrics, and records their vocals over it. Now that rapper is absolutely a writer of the composition. They wrote the lyrics. But very often the producer will own 100% of the master recording because they created that audio file. They're two totally separate negotiations.
So we have two different copyrights, potentially different owners, different percentages. It sounds complicated, I know, but the solution is unbelievably simple. It's literally a single piece of paper.
But first, let's be crystal clear about the stakes. Until the ownership of your song is defined in writing, that song is stuck in limbo. It can't be licensed properly, it can't generate royalties correctly. For all business purposes, it's basically worthless.
Without a written agreement, your royalties can get completely frozen. You can forget about getting that awesome placement in a movie or TV show. Publishers won't want to touch it. And maybe worst of all, a collaborator could show up years later claiming they own way more than you thought, which is how you end up in ugly, expensive legal battles.
But here's the good news, 95%. That is the estimated number of these disputes that can be prevented, all of them, prevented by that one simple document we're about to talk about.
This is the solution. It's called a split sheet. And look, it's not some scary 30-page legal contract. It's just a simple document that lists everyone's legal name, their performing rights organization, that's your ASCAP, your BMI, and the percentages you've all agreed on for both the composition and the master. Everybody signs, and you are protected. It's really that easy.
So, to make sure this never, ever becomes your problem, let's just boil everything down into 5 golden rules to take with you into every single session. 1. Have the conversation before you even start creating. I promise it's not awkward, it's professional. 2. Get it in writing every single time. A verbal agreement just won't cut it. 3. Remember, publishing and masters are two different things, and they need two separate agreements. 4. A great vocal performance doesn't automatically grant ownership. Contribution is not the same as performance. And 5. These splits last for your lifetime plus 70 years, so be fair, because this decision is basically permanent.
At the end of the day, it really just comes down to this. Having the talk early and putting it down on paper isn't about mistrust. It's about respect. It protects the music, it protects your friendships, and it makes sure that everyone involved is treated fairly for the magic you created together.